All right, good morning again, everybody. So I'm sorry that I did not link this video, but I'm going to do it today so you can kind of watch what a filibuster is. But we'll just keep moving along talking about the Senate. So, like I said before, 100 members, there are two from each state. Um, each senator, though, represents the whole state. It's not like Congress where they each have their own district. Your senator really represents you as a North Carolinian, like entirely. They represent everyone in North Carolina. Um, so it's a little different in that respect. And like I said, they are staggered in how they run. So Tillis was first elected in 2014. He just got reelected in 2020. So these are your two senators. Burr is going to retire in 2022, but these will be your senators for the next 2 years. Some powers of the Senate. You'll see them a lot on the news if the president is appointing people to almost really any position. Um, Most famously, it will be Supreme Court justices, like here with Amy Coney Barrett, which happened recently. Um, but it could be anything. It could be, an appointment in the FBI. It could be anything like that. And that's just one of those checks and balances that we talked about with Montesquieu. It's a way for this branch of government to kind of keep power out of the hands of the executive branch. The executive branch also has powers. For example, like when you will look at how a bill becomes law, you'll see that the president has to approve laws that the Senate pushes through. He can veto them if he wants. So there are checks and balances on both sides. They also have to approve all treaties. And like I said before, Congress has the power to make war. The president doesn't actually have that power. So there are a lot of things they can do that the other branches can't necessarily do. And like we've mentioned, they are the jury in the impeachment trial. So the House actually puts the president, like they decide whether or not to impeach him, and then the trial is conducted in the Senate with the senators as the jury. So senators vote on whether or not they think the president is guilty of whatever crimes he's been charged with. And it has to be a high crimes and misdemeanors is pretty much the only guidance the Constitution gives you on our grounds for impeachment. All right, so some benefits of Congress. They make about $150,000 a year, which is pretty nice. They get budgets for the people that work for them. They get office space at the Capitol. They also get franking privileges. So that's how they can send pretty much any and all mail without postage, which might be another reason that they're so hard to get out of office. I'm sure you guys saw the mail you got in your mailbox. If one senator is not having to pay for that, it might be a little easier for him to get that stuff out. They also have a limited immunity, so they're protected from certain crimes just because of where they are. They can say whatever they want to while they're in Congress. There are limitations on their power, though. You can be formally removed from Congress by expulsion. To do that, 2/3 of the members of the House that you're in have to vote you out. And it has happened before. It's happened 20 times in American history. 17 of those times were people that wanted to join the Confederacy in the Civil War, so obviously they were expelled. 2 times were bribery, where people got tossed out for racketeering and bribery charges. And then 1 time was a treason charge that got a guy booted and his fellow members of Congress kicked them out. More often, though, you'll see Congress people censured, which is really just like all it takes is a majority vote, and it's really just saying like we don't like your conduct, but it doesn't really do anything else. But expulsion is kind of the ultimate limit. You can be kicked out of Congress for bad behavior. Session. So we rename congressional sessions every 2 years because we'll have new members every 2 years. So we're currently on the 116th Congress. In January, though, once all these newly elected people take office will start the 117th Congress. It meets from January to November or December, pretty much all year. And then it's out of session for a little bit before the new year. However, the president, under certain situations, can call special sessions if he deems them necessary. So again, another like one of those checks and balances that we've talked about. And this happened recently, actually. If oftentimes we'll enter a period where the government did not pass a budget and there's a shutdown, and a lot of times the president will make them keep meeting so that they pass the budget through so the government can get back up and running again. And that happened in, I believe, late 2018 was the last time. So it happens probably more so than would be good. So one of the principles kind of moving forward here of the Constitution is limited government. We had this government before the Articles of Confederation that was too limited, but even though they wanted a stronger government, they didn't want it to get too much power. They wanted it to be limited, and I guess more freedom to the people would be the idea there. So to do that, like we said, we've instituted kind of this system of checks and balances. Congress is given certain powers that are defined in Article 1. They're also prevented from doing certain things too. But we are going to talk about the powers that they do have here. Some of them are enumerated. That means they're actually listed out. Some of them are implied. We'll talk about that too. So the express powers really just is just saying they are listed in the Constitution. There are quite a few of them, but just a couple examples. Congress has the ability to declare war and form armies. The president is not actually responsible for that. Even though he's the head of the military, he can't declare war. He can move troops around, but Congress has to declare war. They have the ability to coin and make money. And that was really in the same clause that it talked about the ability not to be able to pay in kind, that things had to be paid in gold and silver. So you can see how these things are tied together with stuff that we've learned. They also regulate really pretty much any trade. They regulate foreign trade. If they want to put a tariff, that's on Congress to do that to another country. They also make sure that interstate commerce, so trade between states, goes the way they want it to go. They're in charge of doing that too. The states don't get to decide. Like Georgia can't put a tariff on us. Congress deals with all that stuff, but like Georgia can't tell us that we have to pay more to sell their stuff or whatever, like we could to China. It's not the same process. Congress is in charge of all that stuff. Then you have implied powers. This is given by the necessary and proper clause. Pretty much the idea behind this is that Congress can stretch their powers if they need to do new stuff. I guess the framers of the Constitution probably thought like they probably couldn't imagine some of the things that would happen in the future. I doubt they were thinking at all about airplanes even existing, let alone us being able to drop bombs out of them. So they gave kind of a little bit of leeway to Congress here that allows them to do things that they think are necessary and proper as long as they aren't expressly forbidden in the Constitution. So some examples of that: Congress is responsible for the creation of the Air Force. Congress has also done this plenty of times, like when we had the recession in 2008, we bailed out a lot of the industry, like we bailed out the auto industry, for example, gave them a bunch of money essentially for free. That's not in the Constitution, but Congress deemed it necessary. Just this year, they passed legislation that gave people a stimulus because the economy is kind of starting to slow down. That'd probably be an understatement. But so they have the ability to do these things that if they think it's necessary and proper, they can do it, as long as the Constitution doesn't say you can't do this. And then the last two things, really just, I'm going to end here actually. The last thing is for additional powers, they can investigate. So if they think a person in government essentially has done something wrong, they have the power to investigate. That could be someone in not necessarily a different branch. It could be someone in the executive branch, but it could also have to do with just like a government organization. Like if they thought someone, I keep saying the FBI, but that's fine, or the CIA had done something wrong, they can investigate and kind of formally charge those people too. They have the power to propose amendments, which I've mentioned before. It would take a 2/3 vote of both houses just to propose amendment, and then 3/4 of the states have to agree for it to pass. So one thing you'll hear about a lot is people talking about getting rid of the Electoral College, which we'll talk about more when we talk about the president. To do that would take an amendment, and those are very difficult to do. But people are always saying, like, some people think we should get rid of it, some people think it's great, but just an example, it's really hard to change that type of structural stuff in our government. Um, and like I've said before, they have the power to impeach. So Congress charges, or sorry, the House of Representatives charges the Senate is faced with removal. It has never happened before, and it's not just the president. I mean, presidents have been impeached. I don't want you to get confused by that. 3 have been impeached. That no presidents have ever been convicted during impeachment, but it could happen to multiple positions other than presidents. But president is kind of the most famous one. So that's it for your notes. If you want to look over here, I can go through the questions that I have answered. So, how many members in the Senate? There are 100. How is representation determined? That's by statehood. How long are the terms? 6 years. This limits of debate question, I'm going to have you look that up. All you need to type in is like limits of debate Senate or limits of debate House, but that's what I'm going to have you do on your own. Qualifications: Senate, you got to be 30, live in the state you represent, have lived or have been a citizen for 9 years. House, 435 members. Representation is determined by your state's population. How long are the terms? 2 years, very short. Again, you'll have to look up limits of debate on your own. Qualifications: 25. Live in the state you represent, citizen for at least 7 years. Gerrymandering, remember that's drawing the lines to kind of benefit your political party. What's a filibuster? Essentially, it's talking forever or talking for a really long time, try to delay something from happening in Congress or prevent it entirely if possible. 8 and 9, which state has the most? I talked about it, but I'll let you look that up if you missed it. 9, which has the least. This is going to be multiple states. They're all going to have one, but you'll have to look those up too. This is an opinion question, so I can't answer that one for you. I've talked about your 2 senators. They're Richard Burr and Thom Tillis. And now this last part that's all on your own. You're going to pick one of those senators and answer these questions. So tell me when they were first elected to office. How long have they been there? What's their political party? When's the next time they can run for re-election? So you can't pick this year because it's already happened. And then go on their website. If you just type in their name, there'll be a .gov website, and they will tell you. It'll be really easy to find what the issues are. So just pick 3 that you think are important to your senator based on what you read. And then I want you to tell me how you can contact. It's going to be a him because we've only got 2 and they're both male. But give me their address, preferably their DC address. You're not going to be able to find their actual email address, but you will be able to find a link that is like you can email your senator here. Put that link there. And then I don't have it in the actual paper, but put their phone number too. It's really effective. I think it's the most effective way of reaching out to them. Like, you're not going to actually speak to them on the phone, but they do listen to phone calls. And a lot of times if it's an issue that they don't really have a strong opinion about, or their party doesn't have a strong opinion about, they might just weigh up the phone calls. They'll just look at, like, I got more phone calls that said I should do this than I did that I should do that. So I'll go with that option. So yeah, find those 3 things. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a good day. Bye.